The morning sun shone brightly through the tall glass windows of the corporate building. People in sharp suits and polished shoes hurried in and out, voices low but filled with purpose. Among them was Danielle, a young black woman, walking confidently through the lobby. She wore a simple but elegant black blazer and carried a leather briefcase, its edges worn just enough to show it had been with her through many important days. Danielle didn't rush, her steps were calm, steady. She held her head high, but her face stayed composed, like she was ready for whatever the day might bring. In a place full of power and money, she seemed quiet, almost invisible, but beneath that calm was a strength that few noticed. Many people in the building glanced at her, some with curiosity, others with doubt. They made quick judgments based on what they saw: her skin color, her style, the way she carried herself. What they didn't see was the hard work, the late nights, and the fierce determination that had brought Danielle here. She was more than just a face in the crowd, she was ready to prove it. The elevator doors slid open, and Danielle stepped inside, pressing the button for the 15th floor. Around her, other passengers adjusted their ties and checked their phones. Everything seemed normal, but as she moved to one side, her briefcase brushed against a man standing near the door, a man who looked like he belonged to a different world. He was dressed in a crisp suit, his silver watch gleaming on his wrist. The man's eyes narrowed as he glanced down. Suddenly the man's voice cut through the quiet hum of the elevator. "Hey, that woman just bumped into me." He pointed at Danielle, his tone sharp. "I think she took my watch." Danielle froze. She blinked, confused. "What? No, I didn't." Before she could say more, the man raised his voice. "I saw it. She's trying to steal from me." The elevator stopped. People inside stared, uncomfortable but silent. The man pressed the emergency button to call security. The tension in the small space grew thick. When the doors opened, 2 security guards stepped in. One looked at Danielle with a questioning gaze, then at the man. "What's going on?" The man repeated his claim. "She tried to steal my watch. Search her." Danielle's heart pounded, but she stayed calm. "You have the wrong person," she said quietly, but the guards didn't seem convinced. Around them, whispers started. Some eyes were full of doubt, others full of suspicion. Danielle knew that to many here, she was already guilty, not because of anything she did, but because of how she looked. The security guard hesitated for a moment, glancing at Danielle with uncertainty. He wasn't sure if this was right, but the man's loud accusations left little room for doubt in the eyes of the crowd. Slowly the guard motioned for Danielle to open her briefcase. She paused, looking directly at the man who accused her. "Why me?" she asked quietly, voice steady but filled with hurt. "Why not anyone else?" Mr. Whitaker sneered. "Because I saw her. People like her are good at hiding things." His words landed like stones, heavy and sharp. The lobby grew silent. The other people around them exchanged uneasy looks, some turning their eyes away. A white woman standing near the elevator shifted nervously but said nothing. The weight of the moment pressed down on Danielle, but she didn't let it break her. Slowly, with deliberate care, Danielle unclipped the leather strap of her briefcase and opened it. Everyone leaned in, waiting for proof of the theft they already assumed. Inside the briefcase were neatly stacked folders, a leather-bound planner, and something else, something unexpected. The room held its breath as the contents were revealed. Inside the briefcase, right on top of the folders, was a shiny golden badge. The letters were clear: Federal Bureau of Investigation. Next to it lay a neatly folded ID card with the name Danielle Moore printed in bold. Gasps echoed softly around the lobby. People who moments ago whispered in suspicion now stared in shock. The man who accused her, Mr. Whitaker, went pale. His confident posture crumbled, and his eyes widened in disbelief. Danielle's voice was calm but firm as she spoke. "I'm Special Agent Danielle Moore, Organized Crime Division. I'm authorized to be here." The security guards immediately stepped back, and the whispers shifted to murmurs of apology and surprise. Mr. Whitaker stammered, struggling to find words. "I didn't know." But Danielle wasn't done. Her eyes, steady and sharp, met his. The pride and pain in her gaze was clear. "You judged me before you knew who I was. You assumed the worst just because of how I look." The silence that followed was heavier than the accusations had been. The crowd seemed to shrink away from Mr. Whitaker's cold stare, while some looked at Danielle with new respect. Still, the story wasn't over. Danielle carefully closed her briefcase. "This isn't just about a lost watch," she said quietly. "There's more to this story." The tension in the room grew. Everyone waited for what would come next. Danielle didn't move away from Mr. Whitaker. Instead, she stepped closer, her voice low but clear. "You're under investigation for money laundering, Mr. Whitaker." The crowd murmured in disbelief. The wealthy man's face tightened. "What? That's ridiculous." She opened her briefcase again, and pulled out a small sleek device, a tracker. "This watch you lost. It has a tracking device. I planted it weeks ago. I've been watching you." The security guards nodded at a signal from Danielle, and suddenly several men in suits appeared at the lobby doors, her backup team. They moved quickly, surrounding Mr. Whitaker. "You're under arrest for financial crimes," Danielle said, her voice steady and commanding. Mr. Whitaker's confident smirk was gone. His face twisted in shock and fear as he was handcuffed in front of the stunned crowd. Whispers turned into quiet gasps. The man who had accused Danielle so loudly was now the one caught in the spotlight. As the agents led him away, Danielle's eyes scanned the room. A few people nodded respectfully, but many just stared, silent and unsure. A young black girl who had been watching from the sidelines smiled at Danielle. The agent gave her a small knowing nod back, a moment of silent encouragement. Danielle stood tall. This day had shown the truth, but it also showed how quickly people can jump to the wrong conclusion. The crowd slowly began to disperse, the air still thick with surprise and shame. Some faces held regret, others just quiet confusion. The lobby, once filled with whispers of suspicion, now hummed softly with the weight of truth. Danielle remained standing near the elevator, her briefcase closed but heavy in her hands. She felt a mix of relief and exhaustion. It wasn't just about clearing her name, it was about breaking the walls built by assumptions and unfair judgments. A young black girl, no older than 10, approached hesitantly. She looked up at Danielle with wide eyes, admiration shining through. Without saying a word, Danielle smiled gently, and gave a small nod. It was a silent message: "You are seen, you are powerful." The narrator's voice softens, reflecting on what had just happened. People see what they expect, often judging too quickly, letting fear and prejudice fill the space where understanding should be. But Danielle's story was a reminder: strength and dignity don't always come with loud voices or fancy clothes. Sometimes they come quietly, in the form of courage, persistence and truth. In a world quick to judge, Danielle had stood tall, not just for herself, but for everyone who ever faced unfair blame. As Danielle walked away from the crowd, her steps steady and calm, the narrator's voice grew soft but clear. "Never judge someone by the color of their skin, or the clothes they wear. It's easy to make quick assumptions, but those guesses can hurt, and sometimes they can hide the truth." The story wasn't just about a briefcase or a missing watch, it was about respect. Respect that belongs to everyone, no matter their background, race or place in the world. True strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's waiting patiently to be seen. The camera would fade on Danielle walking through the now empty lobby, her briefcase by her side, the weight of the day behind her. The people around her had learned something important, even if they didn't say it out loud. And in a world full of quick judgments and whispered doubts, remember this: everyone deserves to be seen for who they truly are. The story ends on that hopeful note, a simple truth, spoken softly but powerfully, leaving the viewer with something to think about long after the video ends.